Thank you very much for tuning in. And it's breaking news. Man United, Ruben AMORIM has been sacked by Manchester United. This happened about 5 hours ago, 10 o'clock, Monday morning, first Monday of the year, and he's gone. He's gone. It doesn't come as a big surprise to me. I've spoken in the last few hours to numerous people, a lot of friends, family, and some shocked, a lot of people shocked, but shocked for different reasons. For me, I'm not entirely shocked he's gone. I'm not saying I expected it, because I just didn't expect United to be as cutthroat, as decisive, as quickly as this. And not all good news on United, as in, I'm not glorifying their actions. It brings me back to an interview that Jim Ratcliffe did on Sky, and I think multiple channels showed it. I think it was October 2025, so about 3 months, where he came out publicly backing Ruben AMORIM and again, just talking too much. Man United owners, managers, just everyone just talking too much. Maybe it's just something that moving forwards we're going to see more and more, and maybe something that's being called upon. The biggest name in football, the biggest club, in my opinion, football club in the world. Forget the American franchises. I think the biggest clubs in the world, football, sports clubs in the world, are football, soccer clubs. And he came out, Jim Ratcliffe came out and said, well, you can't really judge a manager on such short tenure. You have to give him 3 years. Well, how about 3 months, Ratcliffe? Because he came out in October, November, December, January. He's gone. So he talks about giving someone 3 years and then sacks him after 3 months. Well, that's very trustworthy, isn't it? So maybe we'll be hearing something from Jim Ratcliffe or Jason Wilcox, who I believe is probably the author of the sacking. United has been in shambles, guys. There's a lot of wrong that's happening with United, and there's a lot of talk of continued takeover. There's talks of Saudi. It's never left. Qatar. So Middle East are interested. I think Radcliffe has bitten a lot more than he can chew. Doesn't look like Ineos can move United that much further, but they have done things right off the pitch, so I can't blame them entirely. And look, you're going to get criticism no matter what, I believe. So let's look at, first of all, what's happened with Ruben AMORIM. What has cost him his position? Why has he been sacked? Well, Ruben AMORIM was appointed manager back in 2024, so just over a year ago, about 14 months to be precise. And his last match for Man United was in charge of United against Leeds, away to Leeds. What happened subsequently is he came on media, which I think has been his biggest issue throughout media, his relationship with media. In my opinion, he talks too much to media. You're talking on the pitch, my friend. Now you can take to the media. Now you're free. You're relaxed. You're out of a job. Now you take to the media as much as possible. Go and speak in Portuguese and English. No problems. But when you're taking charge of Man United, yes, come in and do your press conferences. But what about all of these other interviews and stuff like that? No. Less of that. But less of him now. So after Leeds, he came out, had an outburst, and corrected the media for calling him a head coach, and apparently he came in to become a manager. Some healthy juice here for everyone. He wants to be the manager. That's apparently what he got appointed as. And even though he's not a big name like a Tuchel or Mourinho, he did not come to just be a head coach. What does that insinuate? Well, it insinuates that he's not happy with the lack of transfers. He's not happy with just focusing on the first team. He wants to have a complete overview of the club, and that obviously includes transfers. Well, we ain't going to get transfers this year. Hey, Noah Williams, come on United. Hello, I'll subscribe. Thank you very much. Welcome to the show. And so let's talk about transfers. He had a good summer on paper, and Ruben AMORIM brought in players who he was always going to be judged on those players. The same happened for Ten Hag. In fact, Ten Hag produced way more than AMORIM. You know, after 9 months of in charge, Ten Hag had a trophy, 2 trophies. After 2 years of being in charge, 2 seasons, he had 2 trophies and a shield. So he won. AMORIM lost the final in Bilbao against Spurs, of all teams. No one backed Spurs to win. No one with any sense of judgment would back Spurs to win against Man United. They don't win trophies, right? We couldn't be luckier in terms of who we faced as a club in a final. But AMORIM, with his continued petulance, arrogance maybe, he took to the same formation and same style of play, and we lost. We lost the final. That was, in my opinion, one of the big strikes. Maybe not strike 1, strike 2, certainly. And then he was backed in the summer. He got given pretty much blank checks to go out and buy whoever he wants. And I think United, on the back of the season they had, finishing 15th with 42 points. Remember, guys, we always say for a team to exist and to continue in the Premier League, one of the key targets is to get 40 points. United cleared last season with 42 points. 15th. Right? So that was, in my opinion, strike 1. The terrible Premier League season. He then somehow gets given a very, very lucky, fortuitous run in the Europa League, where we face Spurs, and he bottles that. He then goes on to clear a bunch of deadwood, get some revenue, buy players. Guys, we bought, because of AMORIM's style of play, we already had number 10s. We already had Amad Diallo in the team. He's a number 10. We already had Bruno Fernandes in the team. He's a number 10. We had Rashford, number 10. Sancho, maybe you could argue they're wingers, but Rashford, Sancho, all of these, number 10s. But AMORIM needed his number 10s. So he goes out and buys Brian Mbeumo and Matheus Cunha. He changes our number 9. Højlund's not good enough. Højlund's an issue. Fine. He brings in Benjamin Sesko. What happened? Brian Mbomo has played well, has contributed, but Benjamin Sesko, huge letdown. Matis Cunha, letdown. I'm not saying they won't ever be good, but the fact is, they've not hit the ground running. And Amorim's got to, guys, it's a business. It's money, right? It's money. He's spent, and again, the different sources, but Shesko was north of 76 and a half million euros. And Bomo, 75 million euros. Matis Cunha, the same, roughly, 74.5. He then bought Patrick Dorgu, a left back. We had three left backs, I believe, in the team. We had Luke Shaw, we had Malasia, we still have them. And we had the Spurs left back, which he could have bought. But no, he goes out, buys Dorgu. Okay. He's not set the world alight. Certainly his best performances has been as a front right, not as a left back. Sen Elements came in. Nah, he's been a top keeper. So out of 5 transfers, I would say Laments has definitely worked for him. And Bumo's worked for him. But again, he's gone to the AFCON. So that's been cut short a little bit. But something that Amorim should have known anyway. So out of these 5 major transfers, 2 out of 5 have worked for him. That's an issue. Amorim plays a 3-5-2 or 3-4-3 if he wants to call it. I think it's a 3-5-2. It's a 3-4-3 if we've got a forward, otherwise 3-5-2. Anyway, he plays a 3 at the back. And so it's a very niche style of play. Not many teams out there play that. So our board has to be blamed for picking that formation and then not persevering with it or not knowing enough. Because I remember people who know the club, people who know the game, we've always said, Man United, Old Trafford, with our identity, you can't really change our identity like this. Old Trafford's not going to change. The fans are not going to change. We're going to turn on a manager or anyone who's playing a style of football that we don't identify with, that we don't like. So it's one of two things. Either you get him and, you get the fans, etc., on board, and then you make your decision, and you're like, no matter what, this is what's going to happen, which I don't think is the way to go, because essentially you're giving, whoever is the manager, in this case it was Amorim, a free run, and you can't have a free run in the Premier League. There's too much money involved. It's too much of a big sport. It's too much of a huge club. Clubs like Man United, we're capped with Real Madrid, Barcelona. To be honest with you, I think just Real Madrid. There's Real Madrid and Man United. Those are the 2 teams. Of course, we're similar to Barcelona in other ways, with the ways that we bring in new players, etc. So at best, we can be clubbed in with these 2 only. And maybe if we bring in one other club, it would be Bayern Munich. That's it. I don't think the Italian teams operate like any of these top 4s. Juventus, a great club, haven't won enough in Europe. AC Milan, I think in Italy, the power changes a lot more. At the moment, you've got Napoli at the top. They're dominating Italian football. Maybe years gone past, maybe AC Milan could have been the name. But let's say these four teams: Bayern Munich, Man United, Madrid, all the M's, and Milan. If we remove Barcelona, all the M's, guys, all the M's. Here's something. These clubs, these cities need to have success every year. Year in, year out, season in, season out. Real Madrid are easily the most cutthroat. I remember Fabio Capello, even after winning La Liga, gets sacked. Style of play is not good enough, not winning enough in other competitions. United's not as bad, but we can't be taking this. I mean, the style of play, when we revert to five at the back, and he has been doing that all the time, it's just atrocious. You can't be spending a whole year, 14 months with this group of players and then ending up with a style of play like this at Old Trafford. It's not excusable. So that's another strike on him. That's a big reason. And now let's start looking at the core facts. Kobe, Jack Melville, welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Amrit Speaks. Let's get into it. Statistically, Amorim has won in all games in charge at Man United 38.1. He has won a grand total of, in a season and a half, he has won 24 games out of 63. 24 out of 63. That's crazy. That's ludicrous. That's including all of the easy, on paper, easy matches, the lesser teams. And then when we exclude it to purely the Premier League, he's on less than 32%. Our Man United manager winning less than one game out of three that he manages in the Premier League for Man United. I don't think it will be seen again. This can't happen again. It won't happen again. I don't think another manager comes in at Man United and wins less than one game out of three. So, the facts don't lie, guys. You know, Ruben AMORIM says he was always going to go in 18 months' time, which that's about less than 3 years that he was going to be given. Maximum 3 years contract, and he was going to go before that, he reckons. Right? Well, if that's what he believes, that he can win 30% of matches or 32% of matches and still be in a job 2 years on, I think he's deluded. That's where I like the bloke. I like him as a good guy. I think he's a good character. He's a very good person, modest, noble man, and you know, he's a genuinely nice guy, but nice guys don't cut it professionally all the time. Very, very few football people are genuinely nice guys. But in his case, he's a nice, deluded guy. There's no way he was going to stay at Man United for 3 years with this kind of win record. And when he started, I welcomed him. I was very much on board. But there's always something that he said at the beginning of his tenure at Man United where it's like, I'm going to put in my stamp of football. Because Ten Hag left, remember, and Ten Hag left after winning trophies at Man United. And he said he's going to go and win trophies elsewhere. So Amorim comes in as Ten Hag's replacement, and he said, look, it's not enough at Man United to just win trophies. You have got to have a stamp, have a playing style, make sure that everyone knows that style, and and apparently us fans were going to see it from day one. I don't think we saw it from day one. I don't think all last season was just pitiful. We didn't see anything. We saw just the team super confused, going from bad to worse. This season, granted, I give him that. We did start seeing it at the beginning of the season. And I'll even give this to Amorim. I think he was unlucky. The first 4 games of the season, Amorim was very, very unlucky. 4 or 5 games. I think Bruno was shit. Bruno was suffering from being confused on to whether staying at Man United was the right decision or going to Saudi. And then later on, Bruno's come out and explained his thought process. He did say that he was extremely disappointed that the club did consider selling Bruno. And when that kind of thing happens, perhaps the club, Amorim at that time, Bruno should have all been stronger and say, like, look, if it's for consideration and if you're not going to be, it's like staying with an ex. You know, if you guys can't draw that line and either move on from there, or, you know, if there's no clean break and you can't move on from there, it's better just call it off. Call it off, let him go. A few of the messages come in. XY West, no way it's Ruben AMORIM. Yes, it is, mate. Real Aqua Real, hello. Get Wayne Rooney in with Gary Neville. No, thanks. I don't. Wayne Rooney, absolutely quality player, and we'll talk a little bit about, you know, who are the managers that I want in, who are the faces I want us, who have been linked, and who I would like to get in. And I'm of the opinion, no, none of these ex-footballers, they may get Man United. We all get Man United. Look, I don't want to undermine the experience at the club, the time at the club. They're not good enough. They're not good enough. Players who won at Man United, let's be clear, they might not come out and say it. I don't think they're super sharp. Gary Neville, I believe, you know, he knows a thing or two about football, and so do the rest. I'm not saying they're not. But they're not tactically great people. They won because of Sir Alex Ferguson, majorly. They won because they played under the best manager the world has ever known, the biggest winner. And us fans have been spoiled because of that. Look at the nonsense we've been having to put up with since then. Man United have been spoiled. And so, no, I'm not taking any ex-player, Man United. No, definitely no Ollie, definitely no Roy Keane. We're going to talk about that. No Wayne Rooney, none of them. Just sit back, enjoy, go do podcasts, come into social media, chat shit. Not managing Man United. Andy Paget, hi. You're in England. Yes, I am. Not quite snowing here, but as you can see behind me, it's very frosty looking, dull looking. I've got to go out later as well. Not looking forward to that, and I hope that it's not snowing on my way back, because I've got to get back today itself. So, coming back to the statistics, Amorim can't be excused. He's by far and away the worst. Amorim is the Andre Onana of Man United managers. And losing the Europa League final to Bilbao, the only reason we've not made that much noise about it is because Spurs were shit. We had the 14th versus 15th. I can't remember. Or is it 15th versus 16th? I can't remember. I believe it was 15th versus 16th, maybe, of the Premier League in the Europa League final. So that already diminished, the value of the final, the cup, etc. And then both teams kicked off this season in bad form. In Man United, we keep talking about, oh, we're in 6th position. We're 4 points ahead of the 14th position. Spurs on 13th position, 3 points below us. Or 4 points below us, something like that. But if we lose one game and Spurs win one game, they're pretty much on equal terms with us. So let's not go on about how we're in 6th position no. The facts remain. Let's look at the percentages. This guy has won less than 32% of his Premier League matches. Period. And the cup, we've lost the final to Spurs in Bilbao. We've lost this season. We've lost in the Carling Cup to Grimsby Town. Overall, we've conceded 72 goals in 47 games. That's 1.5 times, right? One and a half goals conceding on average every match, right? So you tell me you pay 5 defenders every match. Against Leeds, we technically played 6 defenders. The 5 at the back plus Patrick Dorgu and a goalkeeper. So you're going to play, let's keep it at 5 plus the goalkeeper, plus 2 defensive-minded midfielders. And you still concede 1.5 goals every match. Something wrong with them. Something wrong. And then I believe the last straw was, well, it's probably something that I've been guilty about because I wear my heart on the sleeve as well. But if you're going to be falling out with your bosses, make sure you've got the facts, make sure you've got the results to be backing it. I've done so in my last role. I stayed 4 years and I've always been at loggerheads with the boss. But it's because, A, I got results, clients were happy with me, and my team wanted to work for me. I believe Amorim had maybe one out of the 3, but not entirely. His team, the players, I believe, worked for him. They liked him. He had that kind of camaraderie. He was 39 years old. Similar ages to some of the players, likes of Bruno Fernandes, has played with him, right? In fact, I'm very curious to see what will happen to Bruno Fernandes, how he takes it, whether he kicks on or continues to stay at Man United, because I believe Amorim was definitely a deciding factor for him, being Portuguese, being friends, playing him constantly. I think this is good news for Bruno Fernandes, because when Bruno Fernandes played for other managers who are not his buddies, I think Bruno Fernandes did more on the pitch, was more productive on the pitch. Leave the other stuff to other people. Do what you need to do on the pitch. So yeah, despite not having the facts, despite not having the quality of play, not having all of that, the final straw was he took to the media and started talking bad about, not talking bad, but claiming that, hey, address me as the manager and not as the head coach, and taking on some of the responsibility from the likes of Jason Wilcox and Vavel and all of that. And for me, mate, you're not even winning matches. Focus on that. If you're not winning matches, and then you say, hey, I also want to do this, I also want to do transfers, I also want... it's not going to end up well. But at the same time, playing devil's advocate, he also needed to do those other aspects because he's got such a niche style of play. He needs to have maximum impact and be backed with players for him to continue playing that style. And that's where, for me, he was calling, or this was calling for his head. Amorim could have chosen the right, in my opinion, right way, but the easier way out, which is he's got a set of players who are good players, who can win, who have demonstrated that they can win in a different system. But Amorim is too stubborn, too pig-headed to want to change his style of play and his philosophy to fit the players that he has at his disposal. He doesn't want to do that. So he wants to stick to the five or three at the back, as he calls it, and for that he needs other players. And the club are not willing to invest and back him on that. So, look, when you're going to come at a crossroad at loggerheads with your bosses, there's only going to be one winner, and he's out. So now let's look at who can potentially come in. Ahmed Fekri says hi. Hi to you, Ahmed. All right. Let's look at the managers who have been touted, who have been, the media are touting to come in and take over. Well, first of all, the club have released a statement that Darren Fletcher is going to be in charge, and he'll be in charge from now on to the rest of the year, which means that that's half of the season. And that's technically more than half of the season, because that's half of the Premier League season. Then you've got the FA Cup, and if we win that first match, we go and win even one or the second match, he would have already played more than what Amorim has managed, potentially, depending on how the run on the FA Cup is. So anyway, we've got Darren Fletcher coming in. Now, straight away, for me, I've made it very clear, I'm a very practical, pragmatic kind of person. I don't have a problem straight away with any Man United player. No Man United player can manage the club. It has to be the right one. Now, somebody like Darren Fletcher is arguably, I don't know if technically he's on par with those people, but the likes of Xavi Hernandez, the likes of Zinedine Zidane, they're all players, great players for their clubs, legends at their clubs. Dan Fletcher has been one for us. Of course, not quite of the ilk of a Xavi at Barcelona and of a Zidane at Real Madrid. But yeah, I'll give him his flowers. He's been a great player. But I think he's calm enough to come in and study the game. Now, whether he understands the nuances, the new technicalities, I don't know. For example, I love Paul Scholes. I think he was even better than Xavi and Zidane in the midfield. Yeah. I don't think those two had his range of passing, period. I don't think he had his desire. For me, Xavi and Zidane don't do what Paul Scholes did in the Premier League. But Paul Scholes goes to La Liga and dominates La Liga like they did. For me, that's facts. Like, Paul Scholes was ridiculously good, underappreciated, and never spoke a word, which is unlike what he's doing these days with the media. But having said that, would I want Paul Scholes and manage Man United? No. Hasn't got the personality, hasn't got the desire, hasn't got a bunch of things. He was a great player, and that's it. Roy Keane was a great servant for Man United. He was a great captain for Man United. Would I want him at United? No way. It's a disaster. Roy Keane can start a fight in an empty room. It's the last thing we want at Man United. That's not what Ferguson was all about. I can tell you that now. That's not what Ferguson was about. A lot of people try to say, you know, the hairdryer, etc. That was one aspect of him. I don't think Roy Keane is even 10% of a manager of what Ferguson was. That's out of the window for me. Even Cantona, I think he's the best foreign import. Maybe until Cristiano Ronaldo came about, until Thierry Henry came about, until Ronaldo came about. But probably the most impactful player in the Premier League history, Eric Cantona. Do I want Eric Cantona taking charge of Man United? Hell no. Right? So let's get into that list. Sorry, before getting into that list, let's talk about Fletcher. I think Fletcher's got a great temperament. Fletcher obviously knew what he was doing in midfield. Too soon to call. I'm personally not happy with Fletcher taking over as Man United manager. I think it's too long for a player, for a manager without any history. It's undermining the position. I don't like it at all. I think he can take over 1 or 2 matches, can take over the rest of the month, but we've got to bring in a manager. We've got to bring in another top manager. Can't have this. Okay. And lastly, about Fletcher, I hope that he doesn't play his kids. He's got twins at Man United who seem to be on the bench. Jack Fletcher's come in. Presumably, he's the more mature of the two, and he's been a disaster. So that's another fear of me for Darren Fletcher coming in. I do not want to see him playing his kids in this team. They're not good enough at the moment. It's not ready. And I just hope we go back to at least playing a 4-4-2 or 4-3-3. 4 at the back, and I don't think he can do much wrong. So let's see how he fares. All right, the next managers. Well, not so long ago, maybe 10 days or 2 weeks ago, Enzo Maresca walked away from Chelsea. So Chelsea and Man United, two top teams, great pedigree, multiple European Cups, similar pedigrees, and we happen to be on similar points in this Premier League. Their manager walked away. Ours chose to stay and got the sack. We both lost our managers, similar periods. But from what I hear with Chelsea fans, they were not happy with him. I don't like the temperament of the man. He just left and went. We can't touch that with a barge pole, in my opinion. We've just got in a message at Wintered. I definitely think we're not going to have Bruno next season. Probably. Is that all bad, though? We don't know. I think Bruno is one that divides opinion. I really like Bruno. I think he's our best signing post-Fergie era. And I'll have to do a show on that. Who do we think are the best transfers in the post-Fergie era? But you have it here. I think Bruno Fernandes is the answer. However, that's Bruno Fernandes in his 30s. In my opinion, Bruno Fernandes as a 10 up front is one of the best players in the Premier League. Bruno Fernandes in midfield with responsibility to watch the runners, pick runners, play deeper to win the ball? No. If Bruno Fernandes plays as an 8, that's fine. He needs to have one hell of a number 6 in and around him. And he needs to have the right defenders to come in and push and close at the same time. So, again, depends who we have as a manager, what style of play we have and implement. Because Bruno Fernandes is chalk and cheese. Play him in the wrong position, and it's like he might as well have gone to Saudi. Play him as a number 10, and we've still got one of the best players in the Premier League. Okay, so Nagelsmann, where am I on him? Do I want him at United? Hell no. In fact, let me say this. Man United hijacked Ruben AMORIM as a potential successor to Pep Guardiola for Manchester City. In hindsight, we shouldn't have had. Not because of the man, quality person, but his style of play. If he is going to maintain his style of play, irrespective of players that he has at his disposal, irrespective of the position, the situation of the club, he's not the man for Man United. At least not now. Too young. We've made a mistake there. Enzo Maresca is also touted to replace Pep Guardiola Man City. My goodness, please have him. I would love for Man City to go for and get Maresca. Let me put it out there. The two best managers currently in the world, when I say currently, I mean in this era, in my opinion, are two managers who Man United cannot get. It is Pep Guardiola, he's managed across the road. I just can't see us ever managing to get him, especially as he's still at Man City, but who knows? If he's not at City, who knows? And number two, Klopp. The best manager our arch rivals have had since the likes of Paisley, Shankly, and now. I don't think we can have him either. But if there is even a snippet of chance to have either of them, I strongly urge Ineos, Jim Ratcliffe, go out, get them. That's the ilk of managers that Man United need to get. A manager at the club is an extremely important role, and it seems to be neglected because we all seem to be managers. We all pretend to be managers. We can't pretend to be players because we're not good enough. We criticize players, but we all pretend to be managers. It's a ruddy hard job, ruddy hard position to occupy. And in the world today, they are two of the three most or four most accomplished managers in the game since Sir Alex Ferguson hung up management. Pep Guardiola, Carlo Ancelotti, Zinedine Zidane, Jose Mourinho is the fifth, and obviously Klopp. These are the top five. I think Mourinho, we've got to move away from that. He's washed up. He's genuinely washed up. He's not caught up with the modern game. It's far too harsh. He was very single-minded. It's a little bit along the same lines of reasoning like a Roy Keane. You either get on with him and he likes you, or you don't. And that's just very... Yeah, you can't build a club. Not in the modern era. You can't build a club around that. They're not characters you can have in a top club anymore. So that's one out. Carlo Ancelotti, if we can get him, brilliant. But I think he's a bit too old now. I don't think it would be worth, although I think Carlo's a top bloke. So until he retires, he'll remain one of the best managers the world has ever seen. And then you've got the other three, who two of them I don't think we can get, Pep Guardiola anymore and Klopp, which leaves Zidane. Zidane for me is a top choice. I would go for him. Who are the others I would go for? I see one of you has already put that in the chat. Brilliant. Aston Villa's Unai Emery is a top choice. He's not quite box office. He's a top choice. I think in future, mark my words, I think we may even see Amorim come back to Manchester United. I just think this job is a step too far, too soon for him. He's not even 40. Being manager of Manchester United is too complex a position, a job for him to take. He would have learned a plenty, but we can't just be a place for people to learn. And come back to Unai Emery. He was Arsenal's coach, Arsenal's manager. Clearly a top guy. And he's putting up trees at Villa. I think he's a great choice for Manchester United. Every time he's in Spain, he it feels like I think at Sevilla, he wins them the Europa League. He brings trophies. He brings results. He knows the Premier League. So absolutely, he would probably be my second or third choice. And so let's put him at number 2 already. Zidane 1, Unai Emery number 2. The number 3rd choice for me is somebody else who has got great experience in the Premier League. Just 1 second, guys. Great experience in the Premier League, and that's Thomas Tuchel. Tuchel is obviously manager of the national team. Sorry, I heard someone knocking. But Thomas Tuchel, manager of England in the World Cup, and yeah, I think we need to be speaking to him already. I think maybe we've already spoken to him, which is why the statement of Darren Fletcher being manager until the end of the season has been announced. I think it's been a case of go out, win England the World Cup, and then if he does, maybe we might have a fight with England in our hands, and they might want to keep him on. But if he doesn't win, then it's just a case of he starts as Man United coach from the summer. So that's the 3rd one. For me, there are other names which, again, potentially Eddie Howe. I'm not entirely sure about Eddie Howe, but if we want an English manager, then he's probably the best English manager out there. Manager of Newcastle, doing well, but I'm not a great fan of bringing in managers who haven't won. You need... I find this ludicrous, guys. Man United are a winning machine. At least that's the requirement. We cannot have managers who have not won come into the club. Sir Alex Ferguson is the template, right? He's just won everything. He's won the European Cup with Aberdeen before he comes to Manchester United. We can't be going for the likes of Eddie Howe. People talk about Xavi, the same. What has he won as a manager? Yet he's probably placed as the favourite to be Man United, one of the favourites for Man United. I think, personally, I think there's more chance of him going to Chelsea. I think Chelsea are probably a club who would take him on, and if he does well, great. If he doesn't, then sack him. But I've mentioned those names. I just don't think they are Manchester United material. Not Eddie Howe, not Xavi Hernandez. Another name I do want to bring about, who I think would be a no for me, would be Glasner from Crystal Palace. Now, he's won the FA Cup with Crystal Palace. Great achievement. He also plays 3 at the back. But that in itself is reason for me to not go for him. So let me remove his link with us straight away. I hope that we do not get him. Now, another Spanish name alongside Xavi, who I think we are looking at, is Andoni Iraola, who's manager of Bournemouth. He's been doing great. He plays really expansive football. Just on style of play, I would go for him, but it's too expansive. It's too expansive. I mean, we drew 4-4 with Bournemouth. We can't be having matches like that. Obviously, with better players, sure. But for me, again, he's another name in the maybes. With the Xavis, potentially Eddie Howe, and yeah, Iraola. So those are the maybes. Who are the no's? Well, I've already mentioned Enzo Maresca. Absolute no-no. Gareth Southgate. He's been linked with United a few times in the past. Absolute no-no. Glasner's a no. And anyone linked with anyone who has been at Man United in the past as a player, absolute no. Now, Nagelsmann is an interesting one. I've seen some fans call for him in the past. Again, I've seen him. Absolute no for me for Nagelsmann. Some would say it's a bit like a Tuchel. You know, who wins the World Cup? Tuchel wins it for England, or Nagelsmann wins it for Germany. I don't think Germany will take it. But even if they do, I don't want to see Nagelsmann heading up at Man United. I think he will be... He doesn't buy into the United way of playing. I don't think he will be a good choice for us. I don't think he'll be a top manager at a top club. He'll be a good or top manager at a second-tier top club, not Man United. Yeah, as you said, Winter, Southgate, hell no. 100% well no. In fact, I don't think we have an English manager, a good English manager, full stop. The last few years, the Spaniards have been dominating football, and it's no surprises that a lot of their managers, i.e. Xabi Alonso, Xavi, Iraola, all of these guys are coming up trumps. But for me, I'd love to see only one of these three managers come in. Zidane. But Zidane doesn't have Premier League experience. But I think what he's won... What's he won? Like 4 Champions League? I need to check that. How many Champions Leagues has Zidane won? Three times. So Zidane has won the most alongside a Pep Guardiola and Bob Paisley. Impressive. So for me, Zidane, yeah, absolutely a top choice. Imagine he's won the same amount of Champions Leagues that we have won as a club. How about win a 4th one together? So that would be a good one for me. Other than that, I would like to play it potentially maybe safer with Thomas Tuchel, Emery, both of whom know English football really well, both of whom have got successes in English football, and I think this could be the right time for them. So one of these 3 names is who I would want. You tell me in the comment section who you would like to take over, and whether you're happy with Amorim leaving, or sorry, Amorim getting the sack. And thirdly, if you're happy with Darren Fletcher coming in as the interim manager for the rest of the season. What does this mean for the rest of the season for Man United as a Man United fan? Because we're very much in the running. If we look at the table, we are joint on points with Chelsea. They've made their change. I think they will be going for Xavi. But at the moment, as things stand, they've got an interim coach, an interim manager, and they played well against Man City. They got a point. Man United on the same number of points as them. We are only 3 points behind Liverpool and 11 points behind the top 3. So it's all to play for. Let's not look at the top 3, but we can definitely get top 5, if not top 4. And likewise, we can lose it all as well. We are 3 points to top 4, and we are 4 points safe, or 4 points ahead of the 14th place team. Right? So 4 points either way. The season is in balance, and whatever Ineos decide to do, whatever Will Cox or Jim Ratcliffe decide to appoint, whoever they decide to appoint, is going to have a direct impact on this season. So let us know in the comment section what you would go for, what you want, and I wish you all well. I'll see you all next time. Take care. Bye-bye.